All right, let's get right into it. We're diving into Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. But this is not your average book report. What we're doing here is extracting an operational mental framework, a blueprint, really, for anyone who operates under extreme pressure. We're talking about a guide for the sovereign architects out there. This is all about building a mind that is truly unbreakable, using principles that were forged in the absolute worst conditions imaginable. The entire mental architecture we're about to construct, it all rests on this single, powerful axiom, one that Frankl himself quoted from Nietzsche. He who has a why to live for can bear with almost any how. Now, I want you to see this not as some feel-good quote, but as the core operating principle for your entire life. It's the load-bearing wall. Everything else we discussed today bolts directly onto this.
So this leads us to the central question, the one every founder, every leader, every creator has to face at some point. When the market tanks, when the code breaks, when external reality just becomes unbearable, what's left? What is the one single freedom that nobody can ever take from you? Frankl had to find the answer to this in the most horrific circumstances, and his conclusion is the very bedrock of what we're going to call mental sovereignty.
Okay, so let's start building. First things first, we have to lay the foundation. The absolute, non-negotiable first principle for any true sovereign architect is the construction of what we can call an impregnable inner citadel. And here is Frankl's profound answer. The last of human freedoms is the ability to choose your attitude in any given set of circumstances. This is it. This is the whole game. Your real power isn't in trying to control the external chaos. You can't. It's in mastering your internal response to that chaos. That is the only territory where you have complete, total, and final sovereignty. So let's put a name to it. Mental sovereignty. It's the capacity to rise above your outward fate by mastering your inner world, no matter what's happening on the outside. And let's be clear, this isn't about being emotionless or unaffected, not at all. It's about choosing your response. This is the first piece of the blueprint. This is the ground you build everything on. All right, foundations poured. Now, every solid structure needs an operating system. And Frankl's work gives us exactly that. We're going to look at his concept of logotherapy, but we're going to reframe it. Think of it less as a therapy and more as a logic engine, where meaning isn't some passive feeling, but an active, relentless driver of performance. So at its core, logotherapy is a philosophy centered on meaning. The main idea is that our number one motivation as humans is the drive to find a meaning in our life. Now, for the sovereign architect, this isn't some vague search for happiness. No, this is about installing a prime directive, a core logic that dictates how every other part of your system functions. And this right here shows you the critical difference. On the left, you've got a system running on the will to pleasure, basically seeking comfort and avoiding pain. It's a house of cards. The second there's any real pressure, it just collapses. But on the right, you have a system built on the will to meaning. This isn't a house of cards, it's a fortress. It's designed to withstand any storm because it actually thrives on the tension of a worthwhile goal. One is a liability, the other is the ultimate strategic advantage. Now we get to the core process of the entire blueprint. I call it the alchemy of suffering. This is where the abstract philosophy becomes ruthlessly practical. We are talking about taking the inevitable, the failures, the brutal setbacks, and systematically transmuting them into strategic assets. And this really is the question that defines a life, isn't it? How can the very things that are supposed to break you, the isolation of building something new, the failures along the way, the crushing setbacks, how can you turn them into your greatest assets? The system we're building here offers an answer that goes way beyond just toughing it out. Frankl's method is laid out perfectly right here. The goal is to transform a personal tragedy into a triumph, to turn one's predicament into a human achievement. You have to understand how radical this is. It means that suffering is no longer a signal to retreat. For the sovereign architect, suffering is raw material. It's the iron ore that you can forge into something of incredible value and strengths. So what's the actual mechanism for this transformation? Frankl called it tragic optimism. This is the capacity to stay optimistic, not by ignoring the hard realities of life, pain, guilt, death, but by actively and creatively turning them into something positive. So you're not just surviving the suffering, you're leveraging it. You're using it as fuel. Okay, we've laid out the high-level architecture. Let's shift gears and get tactical. These are the daily mental protocols, 3 concrete practices pulled directly from Frankl's observations that you can use every single day to fortify your mind and maintain razor-sharp focus, especially during those critical power hours. So here they are, 3 protocols for your daily practice. First, objective observation. You have to detach and study your suffering almost like a scientist. Frankl realized that as soon as an emotion becomes an object of study, it loses its power over you. Second, future goal focus. You must intensely visualize a future goal, an unfinished work, a person waiting for you. This becomes your why. And third, strategic humor. You have to weaponize humor to create mental distance and rise above a situation, even if it's just for a second. These are your daily tools. Use them. And finally, Frankl gives us the ultimate stress test for any decision. He calls it his categorical imperative. Live as if you were living already for the second time and as if you had acted the first time as wrongly as you're about to act now. I mean, what a powerful mental model. It forces you to face the weight of your choices, and it injects this profound sense of responsibility into every single action you take. So we end with this. This is the final challenge this blueprint poses. It reframes your entire journey away from fleeting metrics, away from short-term success, towards something permanent. So after all the wins and losses, after all the struggle and the triumph, you have to ask yourself, what will be the monument of your existence?